Hey everybody, I thought I'll make a video here today. I've had a few comments and questions on the Luxor Temple and the Temple of Man, if I ever made a video about it. And I have just showed it. I have never talked about it, so I thought that was a good comment or a good question to bring up, especially because I had a video on the Luxor Temple that was almost fully completed. So I just finished that one off, and I thought I would talk about it just briefly. But before I do, there's a few things I want to mention. One, I put out a video a couple days ago about the pillar at Göbekli Tepe and how that possibly depicted a comet impact. And I mentioned a few other people's theories on that. And the Telegraph came out with this article just today. Ancient stone carvings confirm how comets struck Earth in 10,950 BC, sparking the rise of civilization. And people who have studied this event know that there was two big events, one around 12,950 years ago and the other around 11,600 years ago. And if this pillar was carved around 11,600 years ago, maybe they look back, about 1,200 years to this first initial impact and put it on here and they saw something coming. I found the timing of this article pretty interesting. And I also want to give just a huge, enormous thanks to Country Rebel here, the world's largest country music network. Yesterday, they put out this article, Tanya Tucker's niece mesmerizes unsuspecting shoppers with a Patsy Cline classic. And they used my video and they shared it here. And I so appreciate that. That makes me feel so good. People have asked me, why do you even bother putting out these, music videos or not watch that much? Well, this one is being watched now about 400 to 700 times an hour still. And that is having a positive impact on Cali and her aspiring musical career. That makes me feel so good. And that's exactly why I do it. I just wanted to mention that. And this has been shared on Facebook just hundreds and hundreds of times. And if you people are on Facebook, I will leave a link below. And if you want to share this, I would really appreciate it. And here is that article in the video. And after hearing from Cali yesterday, I'm even more thrilled. I just want to mention that. Now, the Luxor Temple. This is Places of Peace and Power. I just want to read just a little bit here. It says, in 1937, mathematician, philosopher, and Egyptologist R.A Schwaller de Lubicz began a 15-year on-site study of the great temple complex of Luxor. Assisted by a highly trained team of surveyors and architectural draftsmen, he precisely measured, analyzed, and recorded every stone, column, passageway, chamber, inscription, and statue in the temple complex. His findings, published in the Temple of Man, call for a total re-examination and interpretation of the entire body of Egyptological theory. Yet, by and large, the seminal work done by Schwaller de Lubicz has been ignored, even abused, by the contemporary Egyptological community. The reasons for this are not hard to find. Schwaller de Lubicz had profoundly confronted the prevailing archaeological theories concerning the development, mathematical sophistication, religious symbolism, and total culture of the ancient Egyptians. To understand the significance, indeed, the radical nature of what he has done, it is important to recognize two matters. First, that the current popular scientific notions concerning the origin, timing, order, and locality of the development of earliest civilizations are little more than theories, tentative assumptions given the appearance of authority by the elitist posturing of academic community based upon less than 200 years of piecemeal archaeological study. And second, that those 200 years of study were profoundly influenced by arrogant belief of the European Age of Enlightenment that modern civilization represents a great advance, especially philosophically and mathematically, over ancient civilizations. And Schwaller de Lubicz basically recognized a whole deeper symbolic things that were put into these temples, and especially the Temple of Man, and how it related to the human body. and he recognized that the whole temple was in the form of a human body. But even deeper, the symbolic things that were put in at each portion that represent a certain part of the body kind of had a cosmological meaning to it in regards to that part of the body. And instead of me just babbling here incoherently, I will let somebody with authority who knows what he's talking about tell you just a little bit more and about one specific place in this temple, and that's John Anthony West. And Mr. West is battling cancer, and we should keep him in our thoughts, not just when he announces his cancer and people put out, some links on that, but we should keep him in mind the whole time he battles cancer, and I will leave a couple links below. But here is Mr. West in the Luxor Temple talking about a deep symbolic meaning in one particular place.
Anyway, this is one of those pieces of not spectacular looking evidence, but of critical evidence to the whole symbolist view. Schwaller noticed this. See where Frank is standing there? No, it's okay. You see this is a crescent moon here, and this is the hypostyle hall where Horus is raised to manhood, similar to Jesus in the temple, when he can contend with the wicked Uncle Set from the murder of his father. More on this tomorrow.
And this is a grown crescent.
This is the phases of the moon are cut into the only temple in Egypt, as far as I know, where they have this feature.
Yes.
And according to Schwaller, probably this is not the original floor here. They removed the original floor. The crescent is cut in, and the next one is smaller, and the next one is the new moon. My guess is, I would bet, that this was originally inlay, and that they probably had silver in there and white limestone to the floor. And the reason for that is that, as we saw, the lungs are associated with Egypt and with the Nile. So the Nile is both the breath and the blood of Egypt. So the phases of the moon, I mean, is associated with the lungs and with with in and out breath. And so the phases of the moon apply to this particular hypostyle hall, but not to any other. And there they are. There's no denying that these are the phases of the moon. There's no denying that it's peculiar to this temple. So if the Egyptologists don't like the symbolist view, all they have to do is put up a good counter argument for why they should and they generally, in fact, even they acknowledge that nothing is decoration in Egypt. Everything is decorated, but everything is symbolic. Even they acknowledge that. So this would be a case in point to sort of rub their noses and say, okay, guys, you don't like the theory. Explain why this is here and not somewhere else or not everywhere else. Anyway.
Now, that was a brief clip from a video of Mr. West that is almost 2 hours long, and it's from my friend Carlos's channel, and I'm going to leave links for Carlos's channel. And if you are interested in the Luxor Temple or John Anthony West or R.A Schwaller de Lubicz, please sub Carlos's channel and check out that video. He has many good videos with Mr. West, and thanks to Carlos for letting me use these brief clips, but I'd love to bring attention to Carlos's channel because those videos are very cool that he has on his channel. I just wanted to mention that. And also, I made a video that I never talked on a long time ago, a section of this Luxor Temple that depicts the birth of Amenhotep III, who was one of the most important, most powerful pharaohs in the powerful 18th dynasty of Egypt. And on the wall, it depicts his divine birth, the Annunciation, the Immaculate Conception, and his divine birth. And I know that all sounds familiar, of a story that would come out about 1400 years later. But here is Mr. West talking about that depiction at the Luxor Temple.
What we have here is the Mutamuya, who is the mother of the mother of Amenhotep the third, and she's sitting here on a bed with her hands clasped with the god Ammon, who's holding that would have been an ankh held up to her nose. And there's a long text here in which he is telling her that she is about to give birth to a divine child. Sound familiar? It's the Annunciation, 1300 BC. And then the rest of it is all scenes that are actually quite translatable into the manger and, you know, all of the stuff that we associated with Christianity. So this is a really important piece of thing, and what they're sitting on here, these are two goddesses, Neith, and with her weaving shuttle, and Selket, whose symbol is the scorpion, or there's Neith, whose symbol is the scorpion, and I've yet to read anything completely convincing about what Selket and the scorpion actually do represent, but they are seated on a bed that is the shape of the sign for heaven, actually. So the whole thing is taking place in the celestial realm, and in terms of the plan, in other words, of the temple of man, this represents the vocal cords. So this is where the Annunciation takes place, and over the doorways there are the various names of the pharaoh and so on. But all of this is associated with, you know, with the one place on the body that gives us voice, that gives us voice, that gives us speech. So this is another. You add these things up. I mean, one thing you could say, oh well, it's just sort of accidental. When every single piece fits in and nothing doesn't fit in, you know you're onto something of consequence. Let's go.
2 more steps.
So that was John Anthony West. Please sub Carlos's channel. Once again, I'll leave links in a few places below. And I hope you thought that was interesting. And by the way, Amenhotep III's father, why was Amenhotep III's birth considered divine and told in such a way? Well, his father was Tutmosis IV, the man who the pharaoh, whose face is on the Sphinx. And you can check out those videos. I'll leave some links below. But just to take you out here, I'm just going to take you on a little 3-minute tour of the Luxor Temple set to music. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Please check out the links, and you all have a very nice day.